What's up, strongest men, women, and children from blocks all around the world? I am my block's strongest man. And tonight we're going to have a special guest chiropractor who puts together the pieces of all our favorite strongmen and strongwomen, Dr. Todd McDougle. So I think Doc's actually going to be jumping on with us pretty soon. So in the meantime, what we're going to do is I'll let everybody who's watching know that this is a sponsored live stream. We're sponsored by our good friends at Garage Gym Life Media. I've worked together with Garage Gym Life Media in the past, and we got something in the works coming up in the future, which I'll talk more about when it gets a little closer. So just in the meantime, let's let you hear the founder, John, from Garage Gym Life Media, talk about what they're doing over there to promote garage gym culture. And if you like some of these contests that I've been involved with, you get to learn about the guys over at Garage Gym Life Media that are putting on a lot of them and making them possible.
A home gym, especially if you're training by yourself, can be tough because sometimes you just don't have the motivation to go in your garage or your basement and get it done. And that's why we stream competitions every month on the Garage Gym Life Media YouTube channel. I'm John Greaves, the third founder of Garage Gym Life Media, and after 20 years of training in a home gym, I can tell you that there's some days when I just don't feel like training. And those are the days when I put on some sort of training video or other strength-related content to give me the extra motivation I need to get in there and get it done. There is nothing more motivating than seeing people achieving their goals at a powerlifting meet or a strongman competition. And that's why month after month, we provide that content to you right there in the comfort of your own home on our YouTube channel. Plus, we leave it up forever so you can always just throw it on in the background anytime you need that extra dose of motivation to get you going. And that's why, if you're not already a subscriber to Garage Gym Life Media, I invite you to take advantage of this opportunity to add this powerful training tool into your arsenal, because I want you to succeed right there in the best gym in town.
Thank you, John, from Garage Gym Life Media, for sponsoring this live stream. We really do appreciate it. Hey, Doc, how are you? Thanks for joining us this evening.
So sorry for the late or the tardiness, guys.
No worries. My fault. Totally my fault. So, yeah, we got world's strongest blacksmith, Tyler Haynes. He competes heavyweight, and he's been keeping me company. So if you don't mind, we'll let him hang out with us and ask you some great questions himself.
Sure, why not?
Awesome. So I really want to welcome Dr. Todd McDougle, the Strongman Doc. He puts the pieces back together for all of the great strongmen and strongwomen that we've been accustomed to and have seen on my channel, and many, many more. Doc, you're based out of the Indiana region, is that right?
Correct.
Awesome. And so I want to learn about the schooling. So how did you first get into chiropractic? And what's the schooling like? How long did it take? And walk me through that process.
Well, basically what you're looking at, a lot of people think that it's a 3-year program, but it's actually 5 years done in 3 1/3 years. So it's pretty intense. You actually end up with more credit hours than a lot of the medical programs have. You can also specialize in other things after you get out of chiropractic college with continuing education credits, which are considered postgraduate. So that's pretty much a story. I mean, it used to be years ago, you didn't even need a bachelor's degree. And I think, these days, you're starting to see a lot of the colleges decide, even for a medical degree, they want you to have a bachelor's degree. Just another way to make money, I suppose, right?
Yeah, so it's like graduate school. It has prerequisites.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. So how did you end up bridging the gap and going from chiropractic college into making the connection with strongman?
Actually, you just had a guest on just recently, Chad Coy. And Chad Coy was my link many, many years ago. He actually came to me with a question after we got, connected back in 1998. And said, listen, he says, I love chiropractic. He says, chiropractic is the best thing ever. But he said, the problem is I always feel sprung immediately afterwards. And then it just seems like I've got no power, no strength. And so I told him, I said, you want to experiment with some stuff and see what we can come up with? And he's like, yeah, let's go for it. So what ended up happening is that I took a look at what the majority of my chiropractic colleagues were doing, and they were doing this thing, which is considered side posture, which is very effective. You've got a lot of people that actually get involved and engaged doing that who are non-chiropractors, including physical therapists, some athletic trainers, massage therapists, etc. But the thing that I felt was very interesting is that I graduated in 1997. And in about 1995, you started seeing this thing called dynamic warm-ups enter the stage when it comes to pre-workout, or prepping for an activity. And so during the time in which I was a kid, and Chad as well, we actually were exposed to a lot of stretching. So both ballistic and then also static stretches. And right now, if you go and you look, the majority of people don't do that kind of thing pre-competition, especially in strength sports. And so I thought, okay, well, that's very interesting. This is, the situation that we have. And so I started taking a look at, again, what the majority, 90+% chiropractors actually go ahead and do. They put you in a side posture position, which is actually, if you look at it, it's a stretch, isn't it? So static stretch. So when you go ahead and you have that patient into that side posture position, you go ahead and get everything to tension, and there's multiple joints that you're stretching across, right? So you get everything to tension, and then you go ahead and you give it a burst. Well, that burst is actually considered a ballistic stretch. Well, if you go ahead and go all the way back to 1910 to a guy by the name of Hoffman, who actually went ahead and said, hey, listen, you know what? If you go ahead and you do one of these two features, one, you'll go ahead and see with the static stretch, you'll see a change in neuromuscular recruitment. If you go ahead and you do a ballistic stretch, it's worse as far as the change in neuromuscular recruitment. So I'm like, okay, well, this is the problem, guys. No wonder the athletes feel sprung immediately afterwards. It's because you've just basically blown up the neurology. So what I did was I started using drop table maneuvers. Drop table's been around since it was actually introduced into chiropractic in 1961, Palmer College Chiropractic, by the inventor, who was Clay Thompson. So what I've done is I've actually decided to go ahead and go with a short lever, high velocity burst application using those drop applications. And what we found is that I'm actually bypassing the stretch reflexes, all of them. And the end result is actually an enhancement of power and strength about 20% immediately off the table. And a lot of the athletes will go ahead, even in nationals, international competitions, will go ahead and blast out 5 max effort PRs, one right after the next. And we've been seeing this for the last 23 years now.
That's amazing. I mean, in terms of that stretch reflex, both for static and ballistic stretching, isn't it contraindicated to stretch cold? Like, shouldn't you be warmed up before you stretch? So isn't that another good reason to bypass that reflex, or am I off base there?
No, I mean, I think it depends. It really is based upon, I think, the athlete personally. If you go ahead and you have a swimmer, swimmers typically tend to be loose, tend to have a lot of stretch, a lot of flexibility. So I think the tissue application is going to be different. When you're looking at strength sports, you want to have that tension or that tightness. It takes a long time for an athlete to get, hard, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? As far as getting the ability to go ahead and maximally recruit for maximum power and strength. So I guess the crux of this is that, even though in chiropractic college, we were kind of told all chiropractic adjustments are all equal, I think that's kind of bogus. I think really it should be sports specific. I think you need to apply the application based upon the individual. And there are a wide variety of chiropractic applications, but what I found is that the application I developed while practicing with Chad Coy as my guinea pig crosses all areas, all boundaries, all sports. And the neat thing is I've been able to go ahead and take what I've learned in strength sports, and then, of course, also taking what I've learned in the clinical setting where I do comparative analysis with radiographs, aka X-rays. What I find is that the combination has been beautiful for people who've got, conditions such as scoliosis, conditions such as post-surgical hip replacement, people with rods and screws in their back, people with plates in their neck, people with artificial knees, those kinds of things. So it's been a beautiful marriage, strongman, and then also the clinical that I've seen in my basic patient base. And I think the patients, the athletes, they teach the doctor how to be a better doctor if the doctor listens.
That's a great point. And we have somebody in the audience who's also very associated with Indiana, not living there now, but Albert Jonas Brand says, Doc has saved me on multiple occasions.
He's a great guy. Do tell him I said hello.
Absolutely. Yeah, Albert's awesome.
Yeah,
So have you made your way around all my Indiana friends, Jessica Fithen, Christina Bangma, Christine Matthews, and so forth?
You're making me sound a little bad right now, getting around and all that. But yeah,
I should watch my words. Treated professionally.
Yeah, the thing is that a lot of those people, it's fun for me because I call them I've been around since they were baby strongman athletes, right? So, we go all the way back. I remember when Martins was like a 255 pounder, at nationals. And so I've known Martins forever, been able to go ahead and get involved with a wide variety of Indiana athletes. A lot of people that I first met back in like 2000, Magnus Magnuson, Phil Pfister, a wide variety of other, individuals over the years. Chad Coy is extremely well connected. I say, so often that he's probably one of the most underappreciated in the strength sports arena because he's such a great connector. And the man knows everybody. It doesn't matter whether it's Bill Kazmaier or Eddie Cohn or Lee Haney. It's just, the guy knows everybody.
Yeah, Chad was a judge at the Shaw Classic last year. I'm hoping he comes back this year.
Yep.
I think he is going to be the judge this year again at the Shaw Classic.
Yeah, Tyler, do you have any experience with chiropractic? You were talking about lifting a pretty heavy yoke earlier on. Maybe it could benefit you, feel a little better.
Yeah, I'm on the shorter and the smaller side of the heavyweight strongman, so I tend to do what's probably way too heavy for me.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'10" and 260.
Well, you're taller than Dimitar Sabatinov.
Yeah, I competed at Georgia's Strongest Man about a month ago.
Okay.
And
down there with Wesley?
I was the shortest, the lightest, and the youngest in my weight class.
Well, that just means you could have won more easily and healed up faster afterwards.
I came 7th out of 9 people.
That's all right.
That was my first heavyweight contest. Well, I hurt John was talking about it earlier. I did a 500 kilo super yoke for pickup yesterday, and I don't know what happened, but I've been feeling it all day today. I did it for 6 reps, and I was on pretty level and even ground. I didn't feel it at all when I was doing it or anything. I slept perfect last night, and it just hit about 3 o'clock this afternoon where I just felt drained and my back started hurting.
Did you squat with it, or did you do a normal pick? Because
I was doing pickups.
Huh?
I was doing yoke picks.
Okay.
My yoke is made for my height. I made it out of 2-inch Schedule 80 pipe, and I made it right to my height, right where, and I have it set up so where I can, when I pick it up, is at just the perfect height for me off the ground. And
yeah, you would have loved our old
when
jokes.
I pick it up, it's about 5 inches. Can you say that again?
Our old jokes used to be basically a vertical post that we stuck on a 45-pound bar and slid on, put all the weight on the top and slid it down, and then hooked it to the 45-pound bar. And then we would go ahead and roll back in the back alley challenge with Chad right behind his gym there in Kokomo. But yeah, you got to watch. Strain the loads. You're still a young athlete. How old are you?
21.
Yeah, you're 21. So there's a lot of people that actually may not have bony maturity yet. Even at 21. So you can still have some compressive forces and give you some fits. And who knows what other injuries you may have. But the big thing
I have no other injuries.
I'm sorry?
I've never torn a muscle, bicep, anything. Knock on the wood.
Yep. Yeah,
I've
a
never,
lot of times
I've
people
never
say
told
that until the
muscles
first
hit
time.
joints. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe one of
Only,
the first things you do is get in there, see if you get a massage, open it up, get the tissues moving around, see if you can do, find an FST provider, kind of like, what you would have with, Becky Wilson. Becky is pretty awesome. But FST is one of those things. It's a great tool. Get the stretch component in it, and then you also get the massage component as well. So,
Yeah, and Doc, for folks that don't know what FST is, can you describe?
yeah, it's fascial stretch technique, and there's different variations that you could do. One of the things that we wanted to make sure happened when we were working, when we brought Becky on board, and she'd be a good one for you to interview one of these days as well. But we had talked about the stretch aspect that we had to be very, very cautious of, in competition, because you don't want to basically blow that neuro recruitment component. And so you can get in there and open it up really, really deep. If you're not in the middle of competition, that'll actually go ahead and give you a lot more blood supply, blood flow into the tissues, open up the space in there just a little bit so you have a nicer slide, get a lot more blood flow in there. Interstitial tissues can go ahead and try and exchange fluids and things along those lines. So that can be a real win for you. But you'll have to look that up. Good stuff. But the chiropractic aspect is another level. Obviously, it's a doctoral level, and like I always tell folks, the level that I perform, if you will, at the coliseums or the convention centers or whatever is pretty much my best guess. But for the most part, I think it's important to definitely make sure that you have a higher level of care in the office. So that would include things like X-rays and good solid adjustments and follow-up care and a strategy to go ahead and try and make you perform better and then last longer in the sport. Longevity is a huge thing in strongman, as far as the guy's just missing the mark. People get broken rather quickly, and then you're just out. So gotta protect yourself, and chiropractic is a great way to do that.
Yeah, and Doc, is there a recommendation in terms of being preventative and proactive rather than reacting to injuries?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is that the more on the front side, the more you can prevent bad things from happening. Right now, what I'm finding is, in the chiropractic profession as a whole, is that you're getting a lot of people who are getting away from this thing called the adjustment, and the neurobiomechanical interpretation of X-rays has become a lost art. And so now what I see is a lot of chiropractors that really got to a point that they're about as capable as a bachelor's degree athletic trainer, which I'll be honest with you, a bachelor's degree athletic trainer, I don't take anything away from them because they're very, very talented. But when you have a doctoral level, you should not, be performing, or your knowledge should be at a lot higher level than a 4-year degree, bachelor's AT. ATs are awesome. In fact, I'll be honest with you, athletic trainers for me and strongman are about the best person that you can actually work with at a strongman event. Truly. I know Rob Kearney and I actually got together. Actually, you may not even know this, but Rob Kearney is an athletic trainer. And we had an Arnold's one time where John Posen literally blew his ankle right over. And it was ugly. So I got in there, and what I did was I went ahead and did the adjustment. And Rob got right over there and right behind me and started taping the thing up, because that's his skill set, right? And we got John all set up and ready to go. And John actually finished the contest. He didn't get his pro card that year, but he did, I think, the next year. So I think we did the right things in trying to put him back together as quickly as we could. Which is one of those things that you twist an ankle. One of the smartest things you do is actually get in there, get it adjusted, get it taped up, as opposed to what most of the time happens is basically they just go ahead and ice it down, maybe tape it, do whatever, so that ligament will go ahead and heal in an elongated state, which then sets you up for multiple ankle sprains down the road. And that may really work great for the athletic trainer or the orthopedic surgeon that you go visit on a regular basis, because you keep doing it over and over again. But it's really not that practical for the athlete, and can be really damaging long term. So, the chiropractic doc is worth his weight in gold if you get the right guy. or down.
Yeah, I've been. My little sister has a lot of ankle issues and knee, and I found a thing that I wear a lot for when I'm doing walks. It's a little ankle brace. It's plastic. I saw them a lot on Facebook, and I find that they really help me for moving events when I'm walking and running for yoke and frame and farmers.
The other thing when you go and you talk about ankles, is that a lot of times you'll find is that they're either high arch or flat foot. So that's one of the first things you need to take a look at. There's also this new product out for people who are having issues with ankle strength, foot strength, and I think it's called WECK method, WECK. And I actually went ahead and ordered some. I want to try it out, see if I can do something with it. But trying to make sure that you've got your body in as neutral position as possible is, I think, always important. A lot of people will go ahead and think that, when you go ahead and put orthotics in, for example, it should be 100% correction. Well, after you kind of, maybe 12, you're pretty much done, as far as that's concerned. As far as I think the ability to make a significant change. So at that point, though, I mean, a set of cheap orthotics, just go ahead and increase the arch, try and center up the ankle. Can take a lot of stress off the arch and the ankle itself, the knee, and then of course, the IT band, and then all the way up into the SI joint and then L5. So those are called kinetic chains, right? Each leg is its own kinetic chain, and it goes connectively right up into the hips there. So that may be something for you to take a look at,
Yeah, and Doc, so a little bit of maybe humor here, but I gotta ask you, since I have you on, way back in the day, and one of the early world's strongest men, there was the infamous Franco Colombo carrying the refrigerator and getting injured and saying, they all say it's broken, but I know it's not. I'm a chiropractor. What's your take on that?
Well, I mean, yes, he was a chiropractor back then, and it may not have been broken, but it was pretty daggum damaged, right? Yeah, Franco passed away a couple of years ago. I think he was in Italy, and I think he had a heart attack is what happened. But what a superhero. The guy was super short, nice fella. That was the wingman for Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course. But he graduated, I think, from LACC out in California. I don't know if it was called that then, but no, I've actually had friends of mine who went to see him as patients.
Oh, that's awesome. He was incredible. He weighed what, like 185 or something? And I think he had a 700-pound deadlift back then.
Yeah, hard to say, but didn't have very far to go, right?
Hey, I'm only 5'8", and that doesn't help me any. I don't have a 700-pound deadlift.
Well, you're still baby strongman, so you'll be all right one day.
Yeah, I'm a little old for being baby, though. I'm going to be 46 in November. I better get going.
Yeah, well, I think I was 36 when I first started tearing muscle, and I decided, I probably should back way off.
Fair enough.
Now I'm going to be 56 this year, so at this point, no thanks.
There you go. Speaking of ages, if you look back at your childhood, did you ever see yourself doing this? What did you think would be your profession when you were growing up?
Actually, I thought when I grew up, I was going to be a police officer, and I actually was for a short jaunt, and elected to go ahead and try and continue on and get into the state police. And so took a hiatus from the one department and ended up going to work part-time as a supervisor for functions in a foundry. And that's where I injured my arm and was stuck in a machine doing a real life Viking hold for about 8 minutes while two rollers going 30 mile an hour, about the size of 55-gallon drums, were trying to suck me in and through. So that,
Ow.
it didn't stop me, I guess, long term, because obviously I got involved in the strongman thing, and actually was one of your first disabled strongman athletes.
Yeah, I was reading about that on your Instagram. Do you want to go into the disability at all? You don't have to if you
Yeah.
don't want to.
No, it's kind of apropos. I mean, I just got back from Ohio. We had Chris Vaccio actually put on a America's Strongest Disabled Athlete competition for men and women, and this year I actually was the sponsor. He had some great pro belts that we put together, and so was able to go ahead and participate with that. Adjust some of the athletes. A lot of times we'll go ahead and we'll get some of those athletes that may have a wide variety of different things in them, especially if they're post-military. But for me, I mean, I had my arm stuck in a machine for 8 minutes. It was grinding me, trying to pull me, like I said, into the machine. I had actually grabbed onto an upright, and I lost a major portion of my bicep. I'm missing my entire brachialis, some of my tricep, destroyed my armpit on the right. So I save 50% a year in deodorant. So there's an upside. But I ended up having a flat transfer out of my right side or my left side. That failed, so they ended up cutting the other lat out, and went ahead and helped rebuild the arm, and ended up actually taking a great saphenous vein out of my right lower leg, putting that in my arm as well. And so it was a long recovery. I was able to succeed, I guess, if you will, in spite of the fact that they did offer me $12,000 to cut my arm off at the elbow, and then give me a lifelong disability check is what they told me I could do. And I just think, you go back, and there's a lot of people that may be suffering, with a wide variety of different injuries, but if you let it beat you, then that allows so many opportunities in your future to just evaporate. And could you imagine if I had just taken that check, how much I would be missing? I mean, like this experience right here with you guys wouldn't happen.
That's very nice of you to say, but we are the beneficiaries of this experience for sure. So is it how functional is it? Is it close to fully functional?
Well, it straightens out about as good as a dog's hind leg, I guess you can say. But at this age and at this time in my life, my focus is now just doing a great job for the strength athlete community as best as I can, right? But this never kept me down. I mean, I had a 500-pound deadlift for 20 reps. Strength-wise in my legs, I was after I do that, I'd go ahead and do hack squats with about 1,500 pounds, and then I go ahead and go and do 2,000-pound leg presses for 20. Warm up in the front side, and if I was a little bit energetic afterwards, I'd get on the VersaClimber and just gut the rest of that out. And so that was day one of legs, and then I'd go ahead and I'd go up and I train with Chad on day 2 on Saturdays for the light stuff, which Chad wanted to make sure that you threw up, So if I didn't throw up on Wednesday, I definitely threw up come Saturday, But he had me.
Like that, who needs enemies, right?
What's that?
I said, with friends like that, who needs enemies, right?
Yeah, I tell you what, there's a lot of really great experiences with Chad Coy in the hall, that's for sure. But no, I mean, he had me beefed up to the strongest I had ever been. I ended up at my finest. I could say I was at 265 pounds and 32-inch waist, and I was beefy. I had 21-inch. My left arm, my good arm, was up to 21 inches, and that's lean, man. That's lean. I mean, I had a 6-pack, so, and that's with missing body parts. So I probably with those parts added in, probably could have added another 30 pounds of meat. So I probably would have been just under 300 pounds. I'm almost 6'3", where I used to be.
What an inspiring story for all the audience members. It's like, thank you for sharing that.
I think it's something that, a lot of people have not been aware. In fact, I've been involved in the disabled athletes and for quite some time, since Chris decided he was going to go ahead and be a part of that. And, many of the athletes had no idea, and I think not just the disabled athletes, but I think just athletes in general, they have no idea the journey that I've been on. I mean, I went to chiropractic college after my accident. I had to change the dynamic of what applications I was going to do. I had to think, outside the box to go ahead and come up with something that was going to be great for strongman athletes and strength athletes, and then keep going. Scoliosis applications, post-surgical, pre-surgical. I mean, it just wasn't just headaches, low back, and recreational chiropractic applications like you see on every street corner, offering up $49 deals to go ahead and lure you in for a quick whack or whatever. That's what Chad would always call it, by the way.
Have you ever dealt with anyone with spina bifida?
I didn't understand. I couldn't hear. It sounded like Snoopy's teacher, or I'm sorry, Charlie Brown's teacher. Try it again.
Have you ever dealt with anyone with spina bifida?
Spina bifida? Is that what I heard?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, spina bifida occulta. The occulta is basically where you have a slight opening that the contents didn't spill out. But spina bifida as a whole is when the contents typically spill all the way out of the canal, the vertebral canal, and spinal cord canal. Yeah, I'm trying to think. We had one athlete there that had spina bifida.
Yeah. My brother has a form where his lower 4 vertebrae are fused together and they don't bend. He can't bend at the back and in the lower back. So he bends in the upper back and he can't bend from the hips. And I can bend from the hips, but I can't bend from like the middle of my back.
Well, I mean, in cases like that, I mean, there are certain components, if you got neurological issues, you got reduction of motion issues, you have pain issues. Those are all reasons to go ahead, along with postural issues, to go ahead and take a set of x-rays and see what you got in there. So, I mean, the amazing thing to me is to go ahead and hear how many chiropractors aren't going in and taking x-rays any longer. And you just wouldn't believe the things that you find in people, whether it be a tumor in somebody's head the size of a golf ball, or you may have somebody that will go ahead and lay on, come into your office and they're having maybe some back pain or whatever, and you find out that the big blood vessel in their abdomen is like it's exploded. Basically, it's just huge. So there are aneurysms and things along those lines like that you'll end up running into that could be very, very problematic. So yeah, I think the chiropractic profession is going the wrong direction right now. So if you're having lack of function, you need to have a set of pictures, and you need to have them done standing up, so you can kind of get a better idea as far as what's going on in there, and then how your posture is affecting it, or your flat feet, or your high arches, or the internal rotation one side or the other. I mean, there's so many dynamics that people just don't know. There are athletes that I'll see that are in their mid to late 30s that went through entire programs, either professional or they've gone through collegiate programs that have never identified some very significant findings. And when they get hurt, that's when they come to me, and then I find them. So I mean, we've got people that are calling me right now. I mean, I've had folks from Delaware last week. I got a guy from Spokane, Washington, who's wanting to come out to Indiana. I've done consultations in Slovenia, Sweden, Norway, Australia. I mean, all across the planet, UK. There are people desperate for great chiropractic care, and so, I kind of pick on my own profession because, listen, it has served me well by serving others to the maximum benefit of their performance, and truly, it's becoming a lost art. It's becoming a lost skill, and we're not sharing it like we really should. And so what happens is that the profession dies. I was looking the other day, and I think I saw that Palmer College Chiropractic graduated 64 doctors. Well, when I was in chiropractic school, we had these things called trimesters. So there were three periods, if you will, per year. each of those periods had anywhere from, I don't know, 225 to 270 students per trimester. Okay, compare that to 64, and then you go ahead and you couple that with the fact that a lot of the young doctors really don't know how to adjust. A lot of them are coming out and they really don't know much about, like I said, other than generic rehab. And it's kind of an embarrassment, I think, as a whole. And it's sad because it's costing these young doctors $300,000 to do this. So I'm saying this out loud for everybody here, and I'm going to really make some people not very happy right now, but don't care. Because, to me, there are a lot of people not getting help right now. And unfortunately, they're having to travel a long doggone way to see me so that I can. And they shouldn't have to.
Yeah, for sure. That's really a shame. But I will say, next time you're in Australia, you need to visit my good friends Camilla Fogagnolo and Carl Sherry, the lightweight standouts. I'm sure they would love to be adjusted by you.
Well, listen, I always tell folks, everybody has their own routine, when they're getting prepped for their events, right? So I try not to get involved with that. But, the one thing that, I kind of want people to focus on is, okay, what are we doing it for? Again, it's not a recreational thing. I've had people say, yeah, okay, I'll try it out. What am I, a carnival ride? That's it's almost insulting, because it's like, okay, let's get down to brass tacks. Okay, are you having a gait problem? I had a doctor at Nationals, United States Strongman Nationals. Just she actually herself is a chiropractor. I was injured in a car accident in I think it was in January, February. But she wasn't able to go ahead and take her flat foot and raise her toe up at all since the accident due to a disc injury, right? Well, that young lady stomped competition. I mean, she stomped it. She actually took second place with a floppy foot, okay? Very, very impressive. But she came up to me afterwards and she says, hey, listen, you know what? She goes, I don't know if you can do anything with it. I've been PT, rehab. I've done, all kinds of exercise phys stuff. I'm trying to train the gym, obviously. Been to multiple chiropractic doctors. And she goes, this is all the higher I can raise my foot off the floor. And I said to her, that's not great, because she was barely getting her toe up. So for me, it's kind of like, okay, there's a mission. There's something to accomplish. Let me see what we can do with that. And so that's exactly what we did. We went ahead, we got to work. I stayed away from the area of compromise that was going on. And immediately afterwards, after I got through adjusting her, she was able to move her foot in normal range of motion. She was stunned. And it was so awesome because I helped a colleague. I helped another chiropractor, right? But I helped an athlete get better. And also at the same time, because she's a chiropractor, I made her believe in chiropractic again too, right? But it was a very emotional moment between the two of us because she hadn't been able to do that since February. Well, that was what, June? That June when the USS Nationals was? And, there are people like that will go ahead and go in competition and they're broken. And then they go out and they sit a PR after we've got them on the table and adjusted. So, I always tell people, it's like, you want your performance enhanced, potentially have 20%, increase in power. Who doesn't want that? I've taught doctors who later have become the chiropractors for the LA Dodgers and work with Olympic athletes and things along those lines, how I do what I do. And it's really made a difference in their practice. And, long term, my goal is to teach many other doctors, especially the younger the doctor, the better, I think, how to, process and think and consider and work with, the athletes and the patients to go ahead and make them function at a higher level and get them the maximum performance that they want. And so, I can see myself, being an educator long term with all the information that I've collected. And there are a lot of naysayers out there. They're like, oh, I can't believe that. Well, you know what? Proof's in the pudding. Been doing it, like I said, 23 years in strongman. I've been doing 24 years this year in chiropractic as a provider. That's it's hard to argue with success because the athletes, the patients, Those are our billboards, you know?
Yeah, I mean, thanks for being so open about the evolution of the practice over the years and kind of pivoting that into paying it forward. It's really a super admirable thing. Albert's adding some comments. He said you found an extra set of ribs in him.
Yeah, well, I try not to get too depth, you know, as far as what he's got on there and in there. You know, you got this thing called HIPAA, you know, that you can't be sharing too much. But Albert's a project anytime I get a hold of him. There's no doubt about that. And love him to death. Got to see him. We got to see him, spend some good quality time with him and the guys at Kratos. Also, even at Nationals as well, come to think of it. But we were all together in Indiana at one of Christina Bangma's shows. So yeah, I bump into him quite often. It's really, really nice, and he's a really good young man, no doubt about it. Good dad.
You talking about Savage Strength?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a great show she put on.
Yes, it was. Yeah, she does a very nice job, and Christina Bangma and Erin has Erin Snyder, which is her long-term love of her life, I think. They actually just expanded IN Strong, Indiana Strong Gym up in Huntington, and quite a large setup is what they've got. But I love it because they've got a wide variety of different kinds of equipment that will allow every good kind of motion possible without hurting yourself or set yourself up at risk. So they're very, very conscientious about that. So I don't know if that counts as a plug. If it does, great, you know, whatever.
Plugs are always welcome for sure.
You bet.
So Albert also wants to know, as if he probably doesn't know already, what has been your coolest experience training or treating a pro strongman or strong woman?
Oh my, you know, I remember working with and spending time with Leifa Engels. And I remember after she won the big trophy for you know, winning the whole thing, you know. And I remember going to the Hilton, and she saw me, and you know, of course, we spent a lot of time together working on her, and of course, you know, everybody. I take care of everybody, you know. But she in particular, I really have an affinity for her. She's just such a great gal. Chris, her boyfriend's awesome dude. He puts up with me, which is great. But she ran over, jumped in the air, and it gave me a giant crab hug. And she was just so exuberant. It was so cool. It's just that in itself is a great experience. But, you know, also on the other side of it, clinically, you know, people like when, you know, obviously, like I said, I spent a lot of time with Martins, got to know him very well. And he came to the Arnolds one year injured and had a pretty significant injury, in which case he, even with that injury, still tried to go ahead and do the, you know, compete with Brian Shaw with the stone over bar, you know, competition at Rogue for the Rogue Record Breakers. But that whole competition was me trying to keep his neurology open to that arm, and it was scary. It was really scary, and he and I had, you know, a very, very long talk, and I think, you know, since he's done exceptionally well. But and I'm not trying to get too into details with it. Obviously, that's his you know, information. But no, he really is a young lion, and so I absolutely adore my buddy Martins. He's good people, you know. But then too, you know, working with Brian Shaw and working with Brian a lot. And of course, you know, it's interesting because a lot of people are like, well, you know, why don't you just pick one, or why don't you pick one federation, or why don't you pick, you know, just do one thing? And it's like, you know what, I'm the strongman doc to everybody, and so I don't go federation. And the politics in the sport, you know, that's a difficult thing to do when you're straddling many fences. And you know, you love everybody. It's funny, I've known everybody that, you know, when they were married, when they're not married, when they were getting along, when they're not getting along, when this person was sponsoring, or when, you know, the other person had come up with a new product, or whatever the case was. But you know, I had been offered a position in which I could actually, you know, be hired by one pro strongman athlete. And I said, I can't do that to the rest of the guys. They're my friends. And so I missed out on possibly making some money, doing that. But for me, it's not necessarily about the money. It's about trying to do good things. But where I was going with Brian Shaw is, Brian would tear his hamstring quite often there for a while, and that becomes very worrisome too. When you see your friends go down, or you see Jerry Pritchett not have a good day, or Dimitar Savatinos having a shoulder issue, or you're carrying Andrew Clayton off the field after he's blown his knee, or what I mean. There's so many things like that. I had a young man that blew his kneecap off down in Georgia at the Lee Haney event one year. And then just watching, the EMTs just go ahead and just try and, pick somebody up and put them in a cart without consideration of, some very, very important details, like blood flow into the lower leg, like making sure that you don't have the tibia slide back onto the vascular and the neuro, making sure that the athlete's not moving around so the muscle doesn't ball all the way up. There's a lot of factors like that. People getting crushed, with an axle, or, there's a picture of Seamus McNally on one of my books where he literally had toes under, crushed by an axle. And I actually put that on my book, one of my books. So I've seen a lot of really crazy things. Hopefully that's not too much.
Have you seen where, I think it was at a Giants Live or a contest where a guy was loading an Atlas stone onto the ring and he collapsed backwards with it?
Was that an IFSA? That might have been an IFSA show. Because back then they'd have the rings. I don't know. You know what? I'll be honest with you. I've been around. I've seen a lot of footage. I don't remember what what did what and when, and I mean, if I was there, then yeah, but I don't remember. I mean, I've seen people pass out when those things get above the nipples, so to speak, and just watch people just boom, drop right on over, right?
Yeah.
So
I hate
that
doing
particular
Atlas
episode.
stones.
I don't know.
Yeah, I just want to underline what you said earlier about Leif Engel. She's been on my channel, and she is a sweetheart. Very giving with information, too. I learned tons of circus dumbbell technique from her that I just use a fat grip on a normal dumbbell in the garage, but always remember her tips, and Anthony San Lorenzo, too. Great tips, trying to make sure my posture is correct when I'm trying to do circus dumbbell. But yeah, she's super sweet and super smart about strongman and very giving with her information.
Yeah, and I mean, she's just awesome. But I mean, I've been fortunate enough to get to know people like her. But even further back, Jill Mills. A lot of people don't know Jill Mills is from Indiana. She's from Columbus, Indiana. She lives in Texas now. But I've seen Jill do some amazing things, in competition. Another person, Kristen Rhodes, she's still setting records. The 2020, she actually is, she just goes after it. Andrea Thompson out in the UK, I absolutely love her. Farah, love her too. Kiki out in Norway, she's awesome. Donna Moore from York, what a great gal. And just to be able to just sit down and just have a nice chat with these ladies, it's awesome. Lydia Gecko, she is on the bobsled team for the Olympics. She was in strongman, or the strong women over there at the Arnold's. So just seeing people kind of come in the sport, come out of the sport. I'm sad to see them come out of the sport. I really am, a lot of times, but sometimes nobody in particular, but sometimes you end up with an injury, and then you're just you gotta kind of rethink things a little bit and say, okay, what am I here for? I injured my knee, for example, in my first strongman contest in '99, and I thought, I'm probably never going to be world's strongest man, so I think I'll do something different for the sport. And so there's a lot of parts that a person can play, whether it be training or being the extra weight on the side of a yoke. I don't know. There's lots of positions a person can play, right?
I think you're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm never going to be world's strongest man either. So I set attainable goals. I became my block strongest man and try to bring more attention to the strongman community as a whole and, just get more people interested. So that's the part I play.
Yeah. And I think that's, my goal long term is to have multiple doctors of chiropractic trained in the appropriate measure for strength sports. Like I said, I've been in it for 23 years. The reason I'm still here is because I haven't found the right people I can trust to pass the torch. And there are a lot of people out there that are still doing side posture applications in the middle of strength sports. And my hope is to share with everybody that if you have somebody do that at a contest, you stay as far away as you can from them. One of my buddies, Johnny Wasisco, he actually got a side posture maneuver done at a major competition. And I mean, it really, really messed his back up to the point he was antalgic, which means basically you're crooked, kind of like Gumby got run over by a truck and, you were sideways. And he finished out his contest crooked like that because somebody that didn't know how to appropriately treat. It just was frustrating.
Yeah, Johnny's a great guy. Johnny's here in my state of New Jersey, and we had DM'd a little bit, and he's like, "Yeah, come train with me anytime." I don't know if he's still in Russia competing or if he's back, but yeah, Johnny's a great guy.
Johnny Waz is that's my buddy right there. I love sitting around and just chit chat, and I think that's the thing in strongman in particular is, and I say strongmen are my people. I'm a little rough around the edges. I'm not the refined, snooty, doctor that, will put his lab coat on and try and, dazzle you with all the knowledge and all the big words that I can toss out there. To me, it's about, practical applications of what it is that we know and how to go ahead and maximize the performance to benefit the athlete. So, anything, beyond that is BS. I mean, it really is. And so, being able to sit down with Johnny and many of the other athletes and just have a conversation and just be yourself and, talk raunchy or whatever the case is, I mean, I'll be honest with you, the girls are worse.
I gotta say though, I mean, Jessica Fithen has a reputation for being raunchy. She wasn't raunchy at all with me. She was just super cool.
I think what's happened is the personification that has been created on social media about her. I'm like you. I absolutely adore Jessica. I remember her when she was brand new. Remember when she was learning how to do the log. I used to watch her do it. And then to just see her grow and grow and grow. But, the thing is, though, is that, and it's really, I think, very unfortunate for a lot of the female athletes to have so many people who are just themselves raunchy, sending them stuff. I mean, whether it be, her, Haley Randall's a target. A lot of the girls are targets of these, I don't know, scumbags, for lack of better, description. And I think what's happened is that she just got to a point, enough is enough, and has elected to go ahead and fight back. And I think a very clever way. I think what she's done is quite brilliant. And she's actually, I mean, she's quite adorable, but she's quite brilliant and she's quite an amazing athlete. And,
I agree. I agree.
I can't say enough good things about Jessica.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And you show people respect, you get respect back. I actually had Jessica, Haley Randall, and Lauren Wells on all together, and we had the best time together. Like nobody disrespecting anybody.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the way it ought to be. But social media has really done a lot of awful things, and I think you guys can see some of those kinds of things in some of the interviews that you'll see with Chad Coy, in regards to a lot of the trainers, people that may be able to go ahead and have, an opportunity to win a couple contests. And now all of a sudden they've got 2 million Instagram followers. And now they're, somehow they're an expert in the training arena. And, I say buyer beware. Athletes be very, very cognizant of, who they work with, who they've trained, who, asked questions, of who they are and what they're about. I think that's very, very important. And just because you have a training cert or you have a doctoral degree, doesn't mean you really know anything about what it is that's going on in regards to a particular level of athletics. And I think that people need to be very, very cognizant of that. I know one of the most horrible errors is if I had a young doctor following me. Well, listen, just because a young doctor may follow me doesn't mean that doctor has the skill sets that I've achieved over 23 years. It means that there's somebody who's interested in the sport and are following around, and maybe shadowing even. So and it's interesting how just because you do hang around somebody, that other person, that respect just rubs right off, and it really shouldn't. I think you should still be cautious. You should still be cognizant of the fact that each athlete is different, each doctor is different. Each circumstance is different, and you need to be sure before you get engaged with a care method, whatever it is, whether it be massage, whether it be chiropractic, whether it be athletic trainers are pretty. I'll be honest with you, athletic trainers are all pretty good. So you'll be okay with them, but it's the other people that get a little deeper into the tissues that could actually harm your performance that you've just got to be aware of. When you go ahead and you see somebody is at an event and they end up with dry needles, or they go ahead and say, here, let's go ahead and exercise this real quick. In the middle of contest, you're going to go ahead and scrape an athlete's tissue. What? That doesn't make any sense. You're going to break down tissue in the middle of an event. But this stuff goes on all the time.
I'm
I'm not speaking of anybody in particular. I'm just saying in general, this is going on at strongman events, and the athletes are like, oh, okay. The promoters are, oh, well, he's a doctor. They know what they're doing. No, they don't. Watch out. Be careful. And again, I'm saying this, and I'm going to make people furious, but it's the truth.
It makes sense. As I'm getting older, I start to realize that more and more. Doctors are a profession like every other profession, and you have to vet them like every other profession.
Absolutely.
Some people trust them unconditionally, and lots of them are great, but not all of them.
Well, there you got people in the top, you got people in the middle, you got people in the bottom. So, and as as a consumer, you don't know. They got the same degrees, the guy on the top or the bottom,
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing I was wondering is, have you been able to transfer your techniques into other sports? So stuff that comes to mind to me, it's Olympic season right now, like events that take torsional abuse like discus or shot putting, like anything like that?
I actually, I think in 2014, I actually was out at the USOC working with the think tank for USA Swimming. And it was very interesting to go behind the scenes and see how the sausages are made, and especially from the medical team. But not to slight anything or anybody, it really seemed like a lot of people were on the same track, and were interested in other things, but wouldn't, I don't think, necessarily expand into those other things, because this is how we've always done it. So, things like, taking x-rays of Olympic athletes, they got this beautiful x-ray machine there at the USOC in Colorado Springs. And they're like, yeah, we never use it. And I'm like, well, why would you never use it? It's there to go ahead and analyze and assess and, assist in performance. And, getting down to the bones, I guess, if you will, of everything. Nope, we don't do it because they've moved over to this other stuff. And so, no, I really haven't. However, like I said, I have worked with doctors in USA Swimming. One of the guys was Michael Phelps's doc. The other one, Rebecca Sony, the other guy treated her. So, you've got that crossover. And I met them through when I was hired by UCLA to go out there and teach their doctor or how to do my applications, because I had such a drastic change in one of their athletes that was recruited from here in Indiana. They went ahead and sent her home, thought she was going to redshirt after she was doing gymnastic stuff out there at UCLA. And so they sent her home. And her mom and dad give me a call and say, hey, listen, Kaylee's back, and, we're really worried about her. And I said, well, I'm going to a wedding, so I was going down to Kentucky. So I said, I'll stop by on the way through. So went ahead, took a look at her, and, did what I do. I mean, I've had previous x-rays on her, which is, I think, highly beneficial. I was able to go ahead and interpret what was going on with her, did the adjustment. She felt tons better immediately. And I used a portable table, same kind of portable tables I take to nationals or worlds or wherever, right? So on the way back, I went ahead and I checked her out again and said, okay, let's go ahead and do some finishing work. I mean, for the most part, she responded good. She was in good shape. They're going to put her on a plane in the next couple of days. So that's what they did. They put her on a plane. So a couple of days went by, and I get a call. Almost, it was just really unusual, but it was the athletic trainer for UCLA gymnastics. And she had been there, I don't know, 25, 30 years or something like that. And she says, "This is Dr. McDougle." And I go, "Yes." And she said, "Hey, listen, I have a question for you." I go, well, go ahead. And she said, I've been here at UCLA gymnastics for like 25, 30 years. And she says, what did you do to Kaylee? And I go, where are we going with this? So I'm like, I don't know where she's heading with this. And I go, well, I did a proprietary method of adjusting on her to go ahead and get her ready to go back to see you. Why? What's the matter? She goes, I've never seen an athlete recover. She goes, she was basically out. And she came back and blew our doors off with power, strength, and finesse. I've never seen a recovery in 25, 30 years like that. And so I was hired by UCLA to go out there and work with Michael Phelps' doctor. And then I met another doctor by the name of Eric Blum, who is in I don't remember. I never remember the California town where he's at, but basically he's he's out there, and Brian really wasn't really interested in it, but Eric was really interested because he was also in private practice, and so Eric took a lot of those things to heart and later became twice, I think, the chiropractor for the LA Dodgers, and the LA Dodgers and the athletes absolutely loved his version of my applications. So, it's kind of a long answer, I guess, if you will. But I have expanded out beyond strongman, whether it be a swimmer, whether it be a rugby player, whether it be soccer, baseball, whatever, all of it, But the beauty of this application is the fact that this technique actually crosses everything, including, like I said, pre and post surgical patients in-house.
That's a great answer. Thank you for all that. I appreciate all the crossover stories. You mentioned Rebecca Soni. I think she's from New Jersey too. I remember the Olympics where she set the breaststroke record. I was out of my seat. It was wonderful.
Isn't that wild? Yeah, she's like itty bitty. I think she comes like under my armpit. She's just a little itty bitty thing, but she's a sweetheart.
Yeah,
isn't that
awesome.
Just amazing though? I mean, again, I go back to thinking, okay, I had the opportunity to be disabled the rest of my life, have my arm cut off, and sit on my butt at home eating Cheetos, right? And look, instead, I went this path. And there's an old poem or something like that about the road less traveled, or the path less traveled. And I can honestly say that I went into the ditch.
I mean, what a road you've put yourself on, though. What incredible stories. We're going to have a part 2 to this interview, I think, because you have so many great stories to share.
Well, I think after you edit everything and then you go and you look on there and you say, oh my God, I've been on here for how long now? I never, what you'll find with me is I never have a short answer, because I think, yes and no aren't always the right thing to say.
Yeah, I mean, the answers merit details, and that's what you've provided. So definitely appreciate that. So you mentioned a couple of books earlier. Are your techniques in the books, or is that more of we have an office visit for that, or how does it all work?
Yeah, I had a cervical text, and then the comment that I got was it was too intense, too detailed. Shocker, right? But if you ever want it to be at the college level, you have to have all that data. You have to have that information, right? Even though I think a lot of it's overkill, especially when I have a lot of the young doctors come up and they look at it and they watch and they say, okay, they teach this technique here, and I go, well, all you need to really do is this, and they're like, that's kind of brilliant. I go, well, no, it's just simple. I mean, why make a mountain out of a molehill? Again, it's kind of one of those things about, chiropractic is complex, don't get me wrong, but I think you can make it too hard too, So what I ended up doing was, I think, in the first text was I made it too hard. And so I went ahead and I really dummied it down for my sacropelvic applications. And I'll be honest with you, I mean, low back, hips, kinetic chain deformities, all those things, all are pelvic dynamic. I mean, you go ahead and you go back to the ancient Chinese, they talk about qi, where does it come from? It comes from that midsection, And so I truly believe that the pelvis is one of those underappreciated applications. And so I ended up dumbing down, writing a book, and I've got other texts to write, but also that could go along with seminars and online subscriptions and things along those lines that hopefully down the road, once I get my team put together, I'm going to be able to do that.
Yeah, if you ever need help promoting them, I'm very happy to do that. Are those texts collegiate texts, or are they available to the masses if we want to buy them?
No, I've got the one. The one is only 60 pages, and then I found out that I had it. Somebody edited it. And apparently, one of the guys told me that I've got 2 duplicate pages in there. So I guess that means there's only like 58 good pages out of 60, right? But happens in production, right? But no, it's on Amazon. And but it's a doctoral text, right? I mean, I'm not necessarily going to try and sell masses of them. It really was more of almost a pamphlet, if you will, an expensive one, because it takes a lot of time, but at the same time, it's my life's work, So I've got a young doctor down at Palmer College of Chiropractic, Manny Barquero, who actually wants to help me rewrite all my texts and write them in such a fashion that it may make me look like a literary genius. I don't know. But right now, I just look like a bunch of guys threw some pictures in there and some words. But people have learned. And one guy in particular, Ray Kosiliak out of Bowling Green, Kentucky, I actually endorsed him. He spent some time really, really hammering out that book. And then also at the same time came to help me at USS Nationals. And he, prior to that, was an athletic trainer, and he's going to be a force in the future. I'm looking forward to having, Ray help me at future competitions. And when Manny gets out of school another year or so, I'm looking to hopefully, drag his butt into the mix as well. But the hardest thing about developing a team is developing that team that you can trust, and also making sure that you get the right people on the bus. And I've had a lot of people that just needed to never be on the bus, so and that's unfortunate because some of these people had just such huge potential, but you live, you learn, and not everything's going to go the way that you hope it will. But I'm looking ahead, looking forward. So my hope is by the time I hang up my adjusting tables or my bad arm finally wears out, I'll have a good team of young strongmen docs or strong women docs. I don't care. If they got the skills, that's what the athletes need, right? So that is probably one of the biggest goals that I have. But the texts, there are more to come.
Yeah, definitely shoot me over the links. I'll add them to the description below. And I think probably we're getting a little late here. Maybe we wrap it up for the evening, but I've learned a ton from you this evening about the evolution of the chiropractic practice, what you're doing to sort of pivot it into taking some of the negative out and making a bright future and building a wonderful team using your techniques and hopefully bringing it forward into the future. And had a great time chatting with you this evening, Doc. Tyler, thanks for jumping on and contributing to the conversation and asking some very great questions as well. And Doc, anything else you want to promote? Have any events coming up? Anything you want to talk about before we jump off for the evening?
Well, I mean, we've got OSGs coming up. I don't know about the Rogue Invitational at this point. Some smaller contests here and there. I'm just waiting to see what's going on. I mean, I've been suffering through my own injuries, working and things along those lines. But no, if anybody needs anything, I mean, obviously, you type in #StrongmanDoc, you will find me either on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, of course. I get a lot of people who message me, a lot of questions in regards to, their own conditions and things like that. But, I mean, I just want everybody to know that, it's all speculative until I actually see the patient in the flesh, the x-rays, that I take, and those kinds of things. So, I'm always here to help, but, at the same time, when people do come, I do charge, I have to, I pretty much volunteer every time I go to an event. So, and I think, that's another thing too, that I want the young athletes to realize is that, I'm an old guy there to help, and I'm going to try and make them perform so much better. So be patient with me and allow me the opportunity to take a breath when I need to. I think that's important to take note of, because I'm finding that I'm just not as virile as I used to be as a young fellow. But no, please, take a look at our website, inchiropractic.com. Peruse that. There's less videos and things along those lines than there used to be, but I just need to go ahead and update some of that as well. But the information is still very, very solid for anybody who's a consumer looking for help. And there's a lot of things that are being medically treated that people are getting nowhere on, that may be chiropractic problems, and the right chiropractor gets involved. And there are great chiropractors. I mean, it's all across the world. There's many, many great chiropractors. So please don't, interpret, me beating up on everybody, because there's a lot of talent out there. But, buyer beware, and make sure that you go ahead and check them, thoroughly, and make sure that you're getting it, exactly what it is that you need, But other than that, like I said, McDougle Chiropractic Methods on Amazon. I don't know. That's about all I got, guys.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to check that book out for sure. Thanks for jumping on, Doc. We really do appreciate it. Dr. Todd McDougle, the Strongman Doc chiropractor. We had a great discussion today. You've really educated me and my audience, and I want to thank you again for jumping on, and we got to do it again soon, maybe after OSG.
Be more than happy to do so. And sorry, I'm a little long-winded. But like I said, there's no such thing as a yes or no, I think, a lot of times. So
long-winded makes my job easy. Thank you for that too, Doc. All right,
well, take
have
care
a great
of yourself.
evening.
It's so good to be on your show, and thank you for the invite. And like I said, if anybody needs help, just send me a message.
Will do. Thank you. So have a great evening, guys, and we'll do it again soon. Take care.
Great evening.